It's January 1st, 2020. Happy New Year. What we have on the table here is a MOSSBERG Patriot. It was the combo model that came with a scope provided. It's chambered in 450 Bushmaster. Has a 20-inch barrel. The barrel is threaded. Comes with a thread cap. You could add a suppressor or a muzzle device if you chose to. Has a very nice spiraled cut bolt. A detachable 4-round magazine that is very sturdy, well built. I had absolutely no problems with the magazine construction or feed issues at all. It comes with a very nice trigger. It's an adjustable trigger. It's got the lightning bolt trigger there. It's a very nice trigger. We'll measure the trigger pull here shortly, but from my experience, I did take this to the range, and I guess I should back up a little bit. What I want to do, I think, going forward with some of the guns that we talk about here, is go to the range with them first, shoot them initially, and then come back, talk about it, and then do a range video. I think, for me, that would make more sense, because then I'd have more practical knowledge with the weapon that I'm talking about, opposed to just talking out of specs and initial feel. So I put 20 factory rounds through it, 250 grain, and then 16 of a good friend's reloads that were of various powder measurements, and chronoed anywhere between maybe 1800 feet per second all the way up to 2200 feet per second. The factory ammo was averaged out at between just a little over 2,000 feet per second and 2,100 feet per second. So that was the range we were shooting in. The gun is very accurate. We started out 50 yards, zeroed the weapon, zeroed very easily, tight groups, shot very well. Moved it out to 100 yards. I was touching rounds, easily a 1 MOA shooter at 100 yards with the factory ammunition. And then we moved out to 200 yards with an 8-inch steel plate, and we were just zinging it, man, hitting them with about an 8-inch holdover. That's what I was using with the scope here. Now I'll talk about the scope very quickly here. What it comes with in the combo deal is this Dead Ringer 3x9x40, but I did not like this scope one bit. I didn't like the way that it looked, felt, and I didn't like the picture it provided as you look through the glass. So I didn't give it a fair shot. So I don't have any data other than my initial impressions on this scope. I just didn't want to go to the range with a gun that's very expensive to shoot and have a bad experience solely because the scope was no good. So I'll test this scope out, maybe in another video, by putting it on a different platform, going out and shooting it, and see how it performs then, if you guys are interested. In the meantime, I replaced it with my 15-year-old Simmons ATEC 2.5x10. This scope I've used for deer hunting for, probably 14 of those years. And then I had it on a 300 Blackout for a little while, an AR platform, for about a year. It's a very solid scope. It's a very solid scope, very well built. So I wanted to go to the range with something that I knew I could count on, and I'll probably end up leaving this scope on here. I have no intentions of replacing it at this point. I kept the factory rings, everything on there. Just made sure I went through and Loctited everything. And I'll back up real quick. When I initially got the rifle, I came home. I checked all bolts and connections, and applied Loctite as I saw was necessary. Made sure everything was tight. So after 36 rounds, I didn't have any issues with anything coming loose or rattling apart or anything of that nature. So the magazine fed well, all rounds cycled correctly. So my initial impressions with the rifle are fantastic. It shoots great. The recoil is very, very easy to manage. I thought with this light, cheap synthetic stock that you might have some problems with the recoil, but I didn't. It was pleasurable to shoot. It was very nice to shoot. No issues at all. It was very comfortable for me. It is a budget stock, but you know, it's plenty. This isn't a rifle that we're taking out to some type of a competition. It's definitely going to be a rifle that's a utility rifle. It's going to be used for hunting deer, and I think I even want to take it and do some coyote hunting with it. So those are my plans for the rifle itself. Plus, I just wanted to have something that had a unique round. And the 450 Bushmaster is pretty unique to me, and it's my entry level into you know, a big bore type round. So pretty excited about that. So overall, very good rifle for the price. If you guys are looking for a rifle in 450 Bushmaster, you don't want to spend a small fortune. And I can compare this to the American Ruger chambered in 450 Bushmaster, because the initial range visit I went out with a friend of mine, and he had the American Ruger in 450, and his box magazine on the first round that he shot it rattled apart. The entire magazine disintegrated on the American Ruger. He wasn't able to put it back together. He's going to have to call the factory and get a replacement magazine. And I guess I've seen online where perhaps that's a problem that they do have. The recoil, the felt recoil on the American Ruger was significantly stronger. Now keep in mind, it does have a shorter barrel. This is a 20-inch barrel. I believe that has 16 point something inch barrel. So you have a little more felt recoil. The bolt, in my opinion, on the MOSSBERG Patriot is a lot smoother than the bolt in the American Ruger. Ultimately, you're going to pay more money for the American Ruger. It comes with a muzzle device. The MOSSBERG does not. But I think after shooting both and seeing the performance of both, I think I would prefer, not just because this is mine, but I think based off of actually using them both, I would prefer the MOSSBERG. So if you're on the fence, unless you're completely stuck on having the shorter barrel, I think you should go with the MOSSBERG, in my opinion. Someone else's mileage may vary, right? That's always the way it is, but I can just base my opinion off of my experiences so far. So I think what we'll do now is take a drink of our Black Rifle Coffee Company coffee. I really wish those guys would sponsor me. That'd be amazing. The chances of that are slim and none, right? But I think we'll go ahead and do a couple trigger pulls here, just to kind of get an idea of where we're at. At the range, I didn't notice. I just felt that the trigger was really nice and smooth and crisp and broke well. So we'll use our Wheeler gauge here and see if we can't get a couple readings on this trigger pull. So that first one looks like it was 1 pound 12.1 ounces. So that's extremely light. We'll round that up to about a 2 pound pull, right? So we'll do a second one. If it comes that close, then no need to do a third. So right at 2 pounds 1 ounce. So I think it's safe to say that our rifle factory setup is right about a 2 pound pull, which is really light, but I got to be honest, when I was at the range, it didn't feel right, it just felt. It didn't feel light, it felt right. So I think I'll keep it there, unless I have any problems, but I doubt that. But 2 pound pull is pretty amazing for a very budget rifle. So this is Toe2 Bravo, and I think we'll go ahead and wrap this up. We'll get this out to the range. The next video will be an actual range video where we show some footage shooting it at 100 and 200 yards. Maybe we'll even take it out to 300 just for giggles. But if you're on the fence, my initial impressions, I would definitely go with the MOSSBERG Patriot over the American Ruger, based off my experience. But that's just one range visit and about 36 rounds for me, and I think he might have shot about 40. So I appreciate you guys watching. If you have any questions or you feel like I missed something, I'm sure you guys will let me know in the comments. This is Toe2 Bravo, and I appreciate you guys watching, and until I see you at the range again.